it does appear that there is no certain agreement yet, on what the new minimum wage would be following the outcome of the National Executive Economic Council meeting attended by all governors as well as the president. But we understand that the president approved a one-off allocation to states and the Federal Capital Territory of 10 billion naira for the procurement of buses and CNG uplift program as part of the National Construction and Household Support Program. So it's an intervention program which includes delivery of 50,000 naira uplift grants each to 100,000 families per state for 3 months. So, and then the provision of labor unions and civil society organizations. What's your reading of this issue surrounding the new national minimum wage, looking at what the government has done so far, the conversation, and where we are at currently?
Well, I've always said it that for any country that is productive and progressive, minimum wage is never seen in terms of naira and kobo, in terms of the currency, in terms of the volume of the currency. In other words, applied to us in Nigeria, it's not all about 30,000, 70,000. It's about the immanent and manifest realities within the economic situation, and that has always been my position. And so if the government is now coming out to say that for certain reasons, economic technicalities, inflation, and whatever, we should not go this way in terms of the volume of naira. However, we realize that what we are paying now in terms of naira cannot definitely be a living wage to anybody. Therefore, we must look elsewhere. Those elsewhere are what the government is trying to penetrate. How do you transport yourself to work? Do you have to take the naira completely from your 30,000 or 70,000 or 100,000, or there's something that will be subsidized, thereby creating employment in another sector and regenerating wealth rather than just putting cash in your pocket? Okay?
That's right.
Transportation, even food food subsidy, house subsidy, and all these things. We have always said the government needs to go into all this. And that is why, my brother, in some parts of the world where a good system exists, I'm not saying there's no good system in Nigeria, but we're still working on so many systems.
The ideal system.
The ideal. Well, maybe not ideal, because what's ideal to you might not be ideal.
Absolutely.
Good system that responds to the needs of the people. That's right. We have not arrived there yet. Maybe this is one of the steps that will take us there. What they do in such system is have a commission. You call it salaries and wages commission or minister, whatever nomenclature you give to it. And then what that commission does is study consistent. That's all they do. They don't do any other thing. Okay? You study consistently the trend of the economy. House rent, transportation cost of acquiring property, car, houses, and you design by recommendation your wage system based on all this.
That's right.
And the logic is clear. Why do you pay wage to workers? You pay wage to workers because, one, they need to survive, and two, which for us in Nigeria should be more important, they need to take their jobs professionally well. Where you deviate, the result is obvious. They will not only find it difficult to survive, they will become unprofessional. That unprofessionalism explains why the policeman will be on the road and start asking for 5 naira instead of fighting crime. That non-professionalism explains why a teacher will be in school and rather than concentrating on writing notes, he probably or she will be selling bread or groundnut under the table.
Are you sort of making excuses for instance, the civil service, where they say there is large corruption, there, the issue of not just bureaucracy, red tapeism, but even corruption, and then ineptitude of the workers that we have in Nigeria, although the head of the civil service, tried to defend the civil service, saying that we have, the best civil service, one of the best civil services in the world. But are you trying to make excuse, find an excuse for them for not doing, some of them not doing their job the right way?
Well, it's a matter of semantics. You call it excuse, I call it explanation. It depends on how it strikes you. But let me paint a scenario to you. If you have in your house a housemaid, perhaps brought from the village, obviously deprived of basic things of life, what you notice is that when they come to your house, they begin to engage in funny things like stealing meat behind the door, or taking garri and tying in rubber towards their bedroom. When you are curious about this, you compare to your own son, who you beg to eat meat. Junior, you must finish your food, otherwise I won't take you out for movie or something. Now you have a scenario of two kids, one behaving differently from the other. Now, when you want to explain, what you see is, on one hand, somebody who deprivation has forced to behave differently. And then on the other hand, you see another person who, appropriateness of resources has also conditioned to behave differently. If you put the logic on that analogy, if it makes sense to you, you see that there is no human being who doesn't assume dignity. My brother, do you know what it means for a policeman to be on the road to say, "Oga, give me 20 naira"? It's an insult of his personality. He has pride too. He has dignity too. But by virtue of bad salary, bad income, that dignity has eroded over the years. And then it has now become a habit. The shame has now been removed. It becomes a mainstream situation. So I say, by this analysis, that the only and first way to stop corruption is first and foremost, give workers appropriate wages. When you do that, it does not mean automatically corruption will go away.
That's right.
But you see, it becomes something that will not make you ask the person who is corrupt, what are you going to do with the money? Before now, you cannot ask anybody.